it's Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 40. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. And stay tuned all the way till the end to see a montage of painted minis courtesy of the EOB Complete community. This is a show where I talk about painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week, and I end every episode with a story. Now you might think to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 YouTube videos a week and you stream every single night. How could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, we saw a flurry of interesting things come out of Games Workshop, and one of them was the Gravis Armored Captain. And I know, right? Another Space Marine Captain release? You know, say it ain't so. But I actually think that this is a really good release. It's, you know, a classic release, one of those things that we're always asking for, because we haven't been able to buy a Gravis Captain for a long ass time. The first time we saw the Gravis Captain, it was only in the Dark Imperium box, and that was the only place you could get it. And so forever, we have not been able to buy this model, and now Games Workshop has released a model that is in the codex, and so now we can take that unit in games if we didn't have the model left over from Dark Imperium. And the model looks super sick. I super duper love this model. It is so cool looking. I think it's gonna slot into my Black Templars army perfectly. It can take a chain sword, which I know people are really excited about because that probably means that this guy will be able to be equipped with the Teeth of Terra, which is a Space Marine relic, and I know I always took it in my games on my Space Marine Captain, and so it'll be really cool to have that available on this guy. It's just a sweet model. And what's really cool is he seemed to come with a fair amount of options. He's got a power sword, which you'll probably never take because his fist is probably gonna be a little bit better. The chain sword is super cool. He's got a helmeted head, a non-helmeted head, a nice little cute servo skull. Just seems like a super, super solid model. And thank goodness, the Space Marines did not have nearly enough. More Space Marine releases, I say. But in fairness, this is a super cool model. It is something that the Space Marines actually needed because it was a playable unit that did not have an available model to purchase, and now we do. And it does seem like a whole bunch of Xeno releases are on the horizon. So just the good times keep coming in. Oh, this model is so sick. It is so cool. I love the cape. Games Workshop has been a tiny bit hit and miss with the capes. Sometimes they look amazing, like on this guy and the generic Marshal for the Black Templars, but sometimes they look a little weird and heavy, like that's Thousand Suns Sorcerer. It just looked kind of like a grand curtain at like an opera. It looked too heavy and plasticky, but this guy looks great. Super, super dope. I love everything, no complaints about the model. He's got a tactical rock that's just, mwah, it's a perfect rock. Love it. It really, really adds tons to the model. I don't mind the tactical rocks. I think they're cool. I think they're great. And it does give you a lot more basing options because if you want to have him with a foot up on like a dead enemy or a cool spike or a fallen tree or a piece of machinery, it's great. I always like to go all out on bases for captains and characters. And so having a little tactical rock that I can either keep or shave off, love it, no problems. But yeah, this model's great, absolutely love it, I'll probably buy it. And in other news, Curse City is back. And I called it. I was the only one. I said that Curse City would come back, and it has. And it's great, you can buy it again. The Games Workshop has put out no information on why it was not available and now it's available, but it seems to be like they made a bunch, they all sold out, they didn't make more, but there's demand, so they made more, and now you can buy it. It seems like it's probably just as simple as that. It could totally be that they were planning on really, really pumping out the Cursed Cities, but then when everything started to get crazy, they decided to ditch Curse City in favor of going hard into Age of Sigmar 3. So maybe that's why we saw Curse City kind of abruptly end. But it's back, and they have teased that they will be producing the expansions that were teased in the original release of Curse City, so all cool. Curse City has some amazing looking models, and I've heard that it's a really, really fun game. I don't know if I'm gonna be playing it because there's so many games out there and I only have a tiny bit of time to play them, but it does look cool and the models are super, super dope and it's just neat. I wish that they would bring back a lot of the old board games, especially like the Orc Speed Freaks game, which looked like a nice way to get some buggies for a little bit of a discount. Space Hulk, that should just be regularly on store shelves. They should sell that at Walmart. Games Workshop, bring it back. Space Hulk, super, super cool. Yeah, a lot of games just seem to come and go. But Curse City is back. And it is very, very neat. And I told you so. I did that. It was me. Also, in my Wargaming week, I watched a bunch of Warhammer TV. And boy, oh boy, every time I watch Warhammer TV, which is Warhammer Plus is like Warhammer TV, Warhammer Publications, and the app. It's not condensed into one thing. It's all spread out for your convenience. But I wish it was on YouTube. I wish it was on YouTube so that everybody was watching this stuff and everyone was enjoying this stuff. I really feel like it would be a little bit of a snowball effect if everybody was watching Angels of Death. I think it would have been cool. But only some people are watching Angels of Death because only some people subscribe to the service. But it's a really cool show. I watched the finale of Angels of Death and it was really, really good. By far my favorite 40K animated thing. I really loved Astartes, and Astartes is gorgeous and basically flawless, but it's just a really short little story with no words. Whereas Angels of Death has characters and development and a sweeping story, and it's really long. It's really, really cool show. It had a great finale. It felt like the pages of a Black Library novel just come to digital life before my eyes. It was really, really cool. It had its rough spots around the edges, but it's essentially a low budget show, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was super duper cool. And I wish it was on YouTube so that I could be enjoying it and everybody could be enjoying it and we could be talking about it, and it'd probably make a whole bunch of people want to play Blood Angels, and it would be super, super cool. And if only Games Workshop had the #1 most subscribed, most watched Wargaming YouTube channel on the internet. Oh wait, they do, but they didn't want to post it there, so what are you gonna do? It's a cool show. And I was riding high after watching the Angels of Death and really enjoyed it, and I saw that there was a new episode of Hammer and Bolter, and so I decided to give that a watch. And it was really good. I'm really pleasantly surprised by the newest episodes of Hammer and Bolter. The show started off kind of rocky, but it has really, really gone uphill. The animation was actually really good. There was nothing to kind of point at and laugh like there is in a lot of the early Hammer and Bolters. It's just a really good episode. The newest episode was called Kill Protocol, which is based on the Adeptus Mechanicus, and it made me want to play and paint some Adeptus Mechanicus. The episode before that was called In the Garden of Ghosts, and it was about the Eldar, and it kind of made me excited about the Eldar and want to play Eldar, which is what they should do. The same thing, A Question of Faith was all about the Sisters of Battle, and it made me super cool about the Sisters of Battle. Once you start going earlier than that, you got the whole shebang started. I guess the whole shebang started with Old Baeli, which was the episode that they published on Warhammer Community for a little while, and that solid episode, good Orc/Imperial Guard episode. I really liked it. It was a little bit cuter, I think, than some people really were looking for, but I liked it. I really liked it. But then once they were available to watch on Warhammer TV, you had Death's Hand, which is all about assassins and inquisitors. Kind of rough. Bound for Greatness is a surprisingly tight little story about like little chaos insurrection in the Imperium. Surprisingly good episode. That one I think anybody could watch and think it's kind of neat. Not just a 40K fanatic. Old Baeli, the Orc Imperial Guard crossover. Great episode. Fangs was all about the Space Wolves. No, not a fan. It was maybe the worst one. It's super boring, and the Space Wolves are really cool, but it didn't make them feel that cool. I don't know. It just felt a little silly. But in that episode, they did start to really try out 3D animation with 2D laid on top, which it worked. It worked pretty good for that episode. I don't believe they had any in A Quest for Faith, and then they had a whole bunch in the Garden of Ghosts. And then I think they've perfected that now in Kill Protocol, because in Kill Protocol, there's some fully 3D characters that look great, and they move great, and it's just great. It's really coming along. It seems like they're just gonna keep rolling this show out, and I can't wait for more episodes. I think it's really cool. It'd be really cool. They were on YouTube, but they're not, but it's fine. I think there's finally maybe enough stuff on Warhammer TV where if you got not a lot going on, for a weekend or something, you maybe give them the $6 and then you watch all of the shows and some of the battle reports, and you check out Louise's masterclass painting because she's very, very good, and it can give you a good worthwhile experience, and then you cancel immediately. I think it's finally reached the point where there's enough to watch where it'll keep you entertained for a couple of evenings, and it'll get you jazzed. There's not that much Warhammer content out there. Especially, the audiobooks, there's tons, but if you're not really into books, you would rather be more into shows and movies. I think Warhammer TV is finally getting to the point where it's worth checking out, maybe. I mean, it's $6. An audiobook costs a lot more than that. So, what are you gonna do? Exodite looks cool. There's a new show coming out called Exodite, which is all about the Tau, which is interesting because Exodite is a group of Eldar who decided, when the Eldar were throwing their big galaxy-wide party, they decided to be Amish and just live off the land and be one in harmony with nature and ride dinosaurs. And so it'll be interesting to see how that works into this story about the Tau. But it should be cool. I mean, the Exodites are something that people absolutely adore, and Tau is something that Tau players adore. So it should make for a really, really cool show. And the animation looks gorgeous. I mean, it looks like a Astartes level of animation. It's absolutely very attractive to look at. So very excited for Exodites. Overall, Warhammer TV is fine. It's my official take on Warhammer TV. But I've enjoyed mostly everything that I've watched on it, except for Lore Masters. It's boring, and they haven't uploaded that many. I think they know it's boring too. But what I have been working on this week for my hobby is I made some model holders. This is a Sterilite box that is nice and shallow, but wide, which is exactly what you want for holding models. And I magnetized everything, except that guy. Of the models I magnetized though, it holds them very, very well. He also isn't magnetized. I just missed him. He doesn't have a magnet in him. Everything that has a magnet is properly held onto the magnet paper. I don't know if I recommend you giving it a wiggle woggle upside down, but just proof of concept, it is working very well to hold my Kill Team models. This way I don't have to throw them all into a cardboard box and have them rattle around. Now they're all held perfectly and nicely, and I really enjoy it. The only problems I've found with this situation is I really wish I didn't have to go with the magnet paper. It works, it's totally good, and really the saving grace of it is that you can cut it with scissors. It's super, super easy to work with, but it doesn't hold incredibly strong. It definitely will hold a model for sure, and it really doesn't let them wiggle around at all. It's totally good enough, but I think just a thin layer of steel would hold a lot better and be a lot lighter. This is kind of heavy. And it's great that all the models are held really, really securely, but if I drop this thing, I think they'd still all go flying. Whereas if it was just a really thin sheet of metal, it wouldn't add much weight to it. So I think I might experiment in the future with trying to get some sheets of metal. The problem with sheets of metal is you can't just cut it with scissors. It's gonna be a whole production to get it cut and then attached to the bottom of this container. Whereas this was just a peel and sticker, essentially. Super easy to use, but it's not my favorite. The metal would probably be my favorite, but it'd be a giant pain in the butt to get it working. But overall, I'm definitely happy with this, and I feel much more confident transporting my models to and from events like this, as opposed to loose. And the guy that fell was a Primaris, he'll be fine. But they are held really, really nicely. And I did buy some other Sterilite containers that are taller, for taller miniatures, so I'll have to experiment with like, how many magnets do I need to keep a tall miniature in place versus just a standard rank and file infantry. But I've been working on that and I'm fairly happy with it. The only thing was when in shopping for the magnet paper, I really went through like every single listing on Amazon, reading all the reviews, because almost all of them are really, really poorly rated. And the sheet I ended up going with is pretty darn good. It's very thick. It's got a good amount of magnet to it, but it was a little expensive. So again, another reason why I don't know if this is my favorite solution. But it works, it totally gets the job done. and I'm happy with it for now. But I think I'm gonna be doing some more experiments in the future. But that is what I worked on this week. Maybe in the future, if I ever really nail down how I like to store my minis, I will make a video about it. And if you want to see more videos and just in general help support us making more videos, the best way to do it is to hop on over to Patreon. Over there, you're gonna get access to some behind the scenes hobby hangouts, terrain STLs, and more exclusive content. But with that said, now it's time to move into the story portion of this show. I end every episode with a story about how memories become connected with the objects and how often in this wargaming space, we're very kind of object focused because we collect so many miniatures and they bring up so much emotion and memory. And so this week I want to talk about my Harry Potter wands. I've been a huge fan of Harry Potter since I was a little kid. I've read all the books multiple times. I've listened to all of the audiobooks multiple times. Super duper love Harry Potter. And I've always been making my own wands. I wish I could find my original wand. I couldn't find it. I know it's around here somewhere, but it was a piece of dowel that I hacked into the shape of a Harry Potter wand with a box cutter. Yep, just little tiny old Jay just hacking away with a box cutter. Just a huge mound of shavings as I whittled it down to a nice wand. All scratched up. But not that long ago, I decided to try to make another wand and see how good I could do, and I decided to make this wand. I actually made this I started working on this when I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was sitting on the porch carving into this cheapy piece of birch. I actually had to buy a rectangle of wood to carve it down because the dowels were pretty expensive. But I carved it into this basic shape, and then I took a sanding drum and I smoothed it out, and that is kind of how this weird shape came about. I decided to just kind of hack into it. And I figured this was my wand, so I can't make any mistakes because whatever mistakes I make would just be how my wand would be. And I'm for the most part fairly happy with it. I actually used, I think I used Nuln Oil, or no, Airgrax Earthshade to shade these parts of the handle to give it a little bit more shape to it. But I'm fairly happy with this. This is an okay Harry Potter wand. It's definitely too fat. It's so fat. And one day I was at a local Walmart and I saw there was a blind bag Harry Potter wand thing. And so I thought, well, I gotta give that a try. And I ended up with the Dumbledore's wand, the Elder wand. And I thought, okay, that's really, really cool. And it's really cool. Once I got home, I thought it was really fun and it looked fairly right. But once I really did some research, I found that this is wrong in most ways. It's too short. It's too fat. The shaping of it is not quite right. And I thought that this was made of a type of rubber because it was really bendy. And so I decided to give it a bend and snap. It's made of cheap resin, not rubber. But I fixed it. There's actually a nail in there, pinning the two halves together. But it was really cool. And it kind of got me into the groove of wands. And so I wanted to get the real Elder wand. But I didn't want to get like the really cool one, like the expensive one that you can get from Barnes & Noble. So I bought a recast of that wand on Amazon. And I probably should have gone with the real deal because this is kind of terrible. I'm sure it's fairly close because I'm sure it's a casting of the one that you can buy from Barnes & Noble. But it's pretty bad. The paint is atrocious. There's a pretty bad seam running up the entire length of it. But it is good enough to get a feel for it. And it's a long ass wand. I think all the wands got a little bit longer in the movies, but it's almost like a short sword. It's kind of fun. But I really do like the Elder wand, and now I have two. I need a third one to make it a collection. And so I think one day I might buy a nice piece of elder wood and just take my Dremel tool and try to recreate Dumbledore's wand perfectly, because I think that would be lots of fun. And it'd be really fun to have a crappy one, a cheap knockoff one, and then the world's most perfect replica of the real thing. I think that would be super duper cool. I wish I could find the original wand. Whenever I dig it up, I'm gonna really hold on to it because that wand sucks. But I made it when I was like 9. So it's cool, I like it a lot. But I like this little collection. I really like Harry Potter. It's one of my favorites series, and I enjoy all the movies. I enjoy all the books. Haven't read any of the new stuff because I don't care. Harry Potter ended when the Harry Potter books ended. I don't really care about the Wizarding World, but I really, really like it. And these wands have brought me a lot of joy over the years. And even though this new one is not everything I could possibly want it to be, that's fine, because I think over the course of my life, I'm gonna make many more my Harry Potter ones. And I think it'll be interesting to have them all and to look back to see just how they changed over time. I think I'm gonna keep this kind of weird asymmetrical wonkiness to it, but try to get it a little bit more refined. And probably make it out of a wood that's not gonna break if I carve it a little bit thinner than this. But I'm fairly happy with this, and I'm excited to see what I come up with in the future. And maybe down the line, I'll have a Harry Potter one that is truly mine. But that is my memory for this week, and it'll bring this episode of Models and Memories to a close. Now it's time for the real star of the show, this week's EOB Complete submissions. We put out a challenge to our community to send us before and after photos of their recently finished models to be immortalized in our videos. If you want to join in the fun, you can submit a before and after photo of your painted mini to our Discord server, which you can find in the description below, or you can post it to Instagram with the hashtag EOBComplete. Without further ado, let's look at and get inspired by what the folks have finished this week. A Chaos Lord by Lil Tax Evader, a Black Templar's Emperor's Champion by Maurice, a Wolf Warrior by Wolfgang, a Shrine by MattAlex65, a Warrior by Grimcelestia, some Assault Intercessors by Inferno the Dragon, an Orc Knob with Big Choppa by Scooby Drew AU, an Orc Warrior by Quintus, a Tau Battlesuit by Sorion, a Chaos Lord by Aaron, a Seraphon Lord Croak by Orcrypt Jim, a Tyranid Warrior by Big Bugman, a rebuilt Necron Monolith by Steam Geek 01, a Necron Overlord by Disco, a Necron Army by Greek Man, some Primaris Inceptors by Ron, a Night Elf Ranger by Nerd, an Old School Sister of Battle by Arm Smash, a Space Marine Captain by Ocho the Lost, a Space Marine Primaris Chaplain by Geriatric Panic, a Space Marine Librarian by Mike's 40k Journey, some Primaris Hellblasters by Pyrite, a Space Marine Contemptor Dreadnought by Mandy, an Armiger Warglaive by AKIOU, a Necron Nightbringer by Tradon, a Necron Ghost Arc by Ratstail91, some Tau Fire Warriors by Ao Omain, some Primaris Aggressors by Itkai, and a Black Templar Emperor's Champion by Kenny. Congratulations to everyone for a job well done. It's no small feat to get paint on minis, and you all should feel really proud. Nothing gets the hobby juices flowing like finishing a project, and we all thank you for sharing your work, motivating us and the hobby community to paint our plastic. Thanks for sharing.